Well, good evening, guys. Welcome to another episode of BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of BGObsession.com. Home to your burgundy and gold obsession since 2009. If you're new to the podcast, please check us out on YouTube if you can stand the horrific appearance of us live in your face. But you can also check us out on basically any audio podcast provider. We're out there in pretty much any format you want. And we're also out there on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Most importantly, come check us out at bgobsession.com. We've got a ton of new members flooding in right now. We're trying to manage that a little bit. Been kind of a crazy thing with one of the main Washington football forums apparently shutting down, but we're open for business, and we've always been a friendly forum, friendly community. So if you have any desire to join a Washington Commanders forum, I think we're it right now. So come on and join us. But disappointing game yesterday. I suspect we've got a broad spectrum of reactions. I know Paul. We're going to start with Paul. I think tonight, because I know Paul is all heart. He takes wins and losses with equal amounts of energy. And but anyway, Paul, what did you think about yesterday's result?
Yeah, so for me, it was obviously a little disappointing. More than a little disappointing. It was very hard to take. It still stings today. I would probably say that the sting compares to that playoff game that we lost in the divisional round when we played the Buccaneers, when we were being quarterbacked by Brad Johnson. I haven't felt as upset about a game since then. And I suppose on the one hand, that is a good thing because it means that we're headed in the right direction, and it means that we have something to play for, something that hasn't obviously happened in quite some time here. So I guess for me yesterday, I was most disappointed because we saw a momentum shift at the end of the second quarter where we scored to go ahead and take a 17-14 lead into halftime. And then we came right out of the gates in the third quarter, scored again, and here we are up 10 points all of a sudden. And then it just fell apart on us afterwards. And am I still here, guys?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. We lost your video, but keep talking. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. Yeah, and then we fell apart at that point. And there was that one play where we had a potential first down to Zach Ertz inside the red zone. He ends up dropping a perfect pass from Jaden Daniels, and we had to settle for a field goal. And from that point on, I mean, Pittsburgh just clamped down, and we couldn't get it rolling offensively after that point. And it was a big turning point for me, and just too many missed opportunities, I thought.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think, and the one thing I was thinking about as you were talking, Paul, is, a year ago, it's like, yeah, there we go again. We, it's just another loss. I think the expectations bar for all of us is so much higher this year. So, and I said it last week, it's like, I'm not betting, based on my prediction last week, I'm like, I'm not betting against this team until they give me a reason to. And I don't even think they gave me a reason to root against them, on Sunday. But that there's definitely the whole factor of now we're desperately like rooting for them to win, and we expect them to win. So it hurts a little more this season than maybe in previous seasons. But I'll hold off on what I thought about the game. What about you guys, Bob and Tony?
Tony, I'll flip you for it.
Okay. Go ahead, Bob.
I don't care. I see. I'm looking at this a little differently. I said last week I was going to pick this team until they gave me a reason not to, just kind of like John alluded to a second ago. I still don't feel like I have a reason to. Look, we had our opportunities to win the football game. We had our opportunities to do our thing. I know that there's a lot of griping about the referees. We kicked a couple of those balls that receivers dropped. We hang on to a punt that we dropped. We're not talking about referees this week. Nobody's talking about referees this week. And good teams don't leave it in the hands of the referees. So I'm not. I really could care less about some of the refereeing decisions. This wasn't a bad game. It wasn't a bad game. Pittsburgh's a really good team. This is the best defensive team we've played all season. It's probably the best defensive team we're going to play all season. These guys are better than the Ravens as far as the defensive unit is concerned. They're more put together. They cover better. They get to the quarterback better. They just do everything better. And we still put up 27 points. And I think you could make a pretty good argument that this offense probably should have had a couple more scores than they did, right? This was the busiest day Tressway's had all season. For the record, I just did some quick back of the napkin math, even losing yesterday. We are still currently on track. If we continue to win at the same pace that we have over the first 10 games of the season, we're still on track to have our best season since 1991. I'm not unhappy. Did I really want to beat Pittsburgh? Yes, I did. There are probably more Pittsburgh fans down here in Dallas than any team other than Dallas. And so I hear about it. I've heard about it a good bit in the last 24 hours. It's all been good-natured because they're all very good people. But did I want to win? Sure. Am I unhappy? No. A little disappointed. But it is what it is.
Yep, there you go. What about you, Tony?
As Tony's sitting up there, year one.
Yeah. For me, I was disappointed but not discouraged because it was mostly errors we made. All the drops were crazy. The turnover punt return was tough. And then several key plays that were missed at key moments, like that long pass to McCaffrey that Jaden normally hits. That was, that could have changed the game. And then even despite everything, at the end, we still had a chance to get the ball back. And then Newton had that offsides thing. So even despite the injuries and everything, we were still in the game. It was still a good game. And sometimes I think it's just, two good teams are playing each other. One team's got to win. And Tomlin has some crazy record off a bye. It's like 13-4 or something going into the game. So he always has his team prepared. It was just a tough game. Same as Bob and everyone. I really wanted to win, especially with the Steeler fans. But, just couldn't quite pull it out. But I'm not discouraged overall with the team. So it was just a tough loss.
Yeah, I kind of had a weird reaction. And maybe part of it was the night on Saturday night, my MLS team, Charlotte, they had a chance to win it multiple times to advance to the second round of the MLS playoffs. And they got jobbed the last minute of the game. The referees called a penalty in the penalty box, which was extremely borderline. And of course we lost in the penalty kicks. So I was kind of pretty devastated prior to Sunday, and I only have so much pain that I can embrace. So maybe that's part of the reason why I wasn't, really like kind of what Paul was describing, which would be my normal reaction to a big loss like that. But I guess my take is, we lost a lot in a lot of categories on Sunday. We lost time of possession, 21-19. We lost third down conversions, 44% to 36%. We lost net yards, 312 to 242. We lost offensive plays, 75 to 59, which is a significant number. We lost rushing plays, 43 to 22, and we lost time of possession. I said we lost time of possession 21-19. We lost time of possession big, 36-23. So we held our own, and I agree with, I think Bob was the one that was talking about how, we kind of in the second and third quarters, it looked like we were the ones. We scored on that last possession of the second half. We came back in the third quarter and opened with a score. It looked like everything was turning in our direction. So I think that made the loss a little tougher because it looked like, again, the team was stepping up. But I just think, well, first of all, Jaden was not his best yesterday. Now, I think it's fair to say, as a lot of guys will say, well, the defense that he was facing, that might have had something to do with how he looked. But he definitely missed some plays. You mentioned the McCaffrey throw. There were several plays where guys were open and he got the throw away and it wasn't there. So it wasn't his best day. I'm not beating on him. I'm just saying that didn't look like the Jaden we've seen most of the season. And again, maybe the Steelers had a lot to do with that. He also didn't get a lot of help. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the officiating because I agree with Tony and Bob that, look, you win the game and then the officials don't matter. I think they did make some pretty questionable calls, including the spot on that last play.
Yeah.
But you look at the receivers, Terry had a good game. He was 5 of 6. Ertz caught 50% of the balls thrown his way for just 31 yards. Noah Brown caught 3 of 7. Diami Brown caught 2 of 3. Luke caught 1 of 3. And Zacchaeus, in addition to muffing 2 punt returns, he had 1 reception out of 3 attempts. So the receivers really, and I'm not saying that I know that Jaden is throwing the ball. It's not always a perfect throw, but those are pretty poor receiving percentages across the board. Mm-hmm. And when your quarterback's is under a lot of pressure and he's not having the greatest game, that's when the receivers have to step up, and they did not. I'm sorry, but I think that's just the truth. We had drops. We had balls hit guys in the shoulder and bounce off. We had all kinds of just missed opportunities. So I guess the good news for me, and this is kind of the last thing I'll say, is I don't think the Steelers beat us as much as we failed to deliver on our side of the ball. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that it was as much anything the Steelers were doing as it was just we didn't have our best game. I will say this, Russell Wilson, I don't think Russell Wilson is the Russell Wilson of the Seattle glory years, but when he needed to make a play, he made a damn play. He did it 3 or 4 times where they really needed him to make a play, and he did what he had to do. So I think you got to give some credit to Pittsburgh. And then I said it's the last thing I'm going to say. I got to say this because we haven't said one word about the defense. I thought the defense yesterday, they weren't perfect, but damn, they gave us a chance to win. Fans are really hard on our defense, I think. And I understand that because we are missing pieces. St. Juice takes a lot of heat. The defense takes a lot of heat. But yesterday, man, if our offense had played up to the level of the defense, we'd have won that game going away. So I just think the defense deserves and Joe Witt Jr., they deserve a ton of credit because they kept us in that game. I said it last week on the pod. If we hit 30 points, we win that game. And damn if I wasn't right.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get to 30 points.
Well, and if Diami Brown hangs on to that ball in the end zone,
that was a perfect throw too.
It was. Yeah. I mean, guys caught things yesterday they had no business catching, and yet that one hit him in the hands, right? And what does that touchdown do for us, John? Instead of 27, we have 31 because they ended up kicking a field goal right after that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that's 31, and then this game ends 31-28. The defense was amazing. I saw some brilliant stuff. I'll tell you what, Dante Fowler may have been the free agent pickup of the year.
Yeah.
and the longer the season goes on, the better that guy gets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he's got for the season, but he had two sacks yesterday. We got to Russell 3 times. Russell really had pedestrian numbers outside of those 3 TD passes that he threw. And, when you've got big targets the way he does, the breadbasket gets a lot bigger. Pickens made an amazing catch to pull down that first one. He was turned inside out, if I remember correctly. And coming down with that was kind of a circus catch. And then Mike Williams made a great catch on his ball too. So it just, guys made plays on their side, and we didn't necessarily make plays on our side on the offense. And we still nearly beat one of the best teams in the AFC.
Does anyone have any doubt if we don't have that false start on the last play of the game? Does anyone have any doubt that we don't go down and win the game? I don't know whether that's a realistic thing to say, but I just felt like if we could have kept that ball moving, that Jaden would have found a way to win it.
I will say I was a little disappointed when we turned the ball over on downs on that last play, because we got the ball back with 2 minutes and 12 seconds left, 2 minutes and 18 seconds left, something like that, and 3 timeouts, and we needed a field goal. I was cleaning my swimming pool. I was standing in the middle of the swimming pool because I drained the whole thing and I'm power washing it. And I set a TV up on the side of the house so I could watch the game.
Okay.
And I'm standing in the middle of the pool and I turned the power washer off and I looked at that and Daniels ran out and I went, we're going to win this football game. I mean, it was just very matter of fact. I thought, okay, he's got 3 timeouts and two plus minutes to work with. All we need is a field goal. He needs 40 yards. This is a given. When was the last time I felt like that? It's been a damn long time, guys. And even though we didn't get it, it doesn't change the fact that I still feel that way. Probably why I'm not terribly upset today, because I experienced something yesterday I haven't experienced since Mark Rippon was under center. So I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I feel like if Jaden gets the ball back, with the chance to win it, then I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get in position to do it. And
now,
so,
John, I will say, I don't think we were gonna. I don't think they were gonna run a play. I think they lined up to do exactly what they did, and Newton fell for it, and the young man learned a valuable lesson. And I would almost be willing to bet you that he never jumps off sides in that situation the rest of his career. But I think they'd have run the clock down, taken a 5-yard penalty, and punted the football away, and I don't think we'd have gotten there.
So here's a thought that crossed my mind, because John, you were asking about if we had any doubt that Daniels would have been able to, drive us down the field and get us into field goal range again. The thought crossed my mind, and I'm not taking a shot at Dan Quinn, but part of me is wondering if he potentially made his first in-game blunder as head coach. Part of me was thinking, on 4th and 9, could we legitimately not have punted that ball? After all, you got Tressway as your punter. You tried to pin him deep. You got your 3 timeouts. You stop Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh punts the ball back to you. You get the ball back with probably, 45, 50 seconds or so left to go. Assuming that they were going to run the ball 3 times in a row, you're going to get the ball very close to midfield, and you're potentially setting yourself up to be in a pretty decent position to win the game, as opposed to, Pittsburgh punting from their own 40-ish, and now us having to drive, 50, 60 yards just to get into field goal range, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I got to be honest, man. I was already like making posts in the chat room about, like, I just assumed the game was over. I didn't even foresee us getting the ball back with like 2 minutes to go. So I was pleasantly surprised that we had any chance to steal one. But I guess what was in my mind is there's no way we're going to have another 10 seconds on the clock dramatic win again. That you can only do that. You can only pull that rabbit out of your rear end so many times in the season, and it just had the feeling of it's too much to ask, kind of a thing. And I hated to see, especially a rookie mental mistake, because that's such a letdown. Like we just didn't even have the chance, to take a shot. And I know he was in tears. I saw him post game. He was literally, fighting back tears. And I know that his teammates gave him a lot of support after the game. But I'm not a big. Somebody said it was an immoral victory. I'm like, I think you meant moral victory. But anyway, it felt immoral. So, but anyway, it's a tough loss. But again, I don't think Pittsburgh's walking out of that stadium going, "Ooh, we kicked some ass on Washington." I think they were breathing a sigh of relief. They kind of snuck one out there. And if you're gonna lose, that's probably the way you want to lose. Is I don't know. I don't know what's better. Like you beat yourself or the other team beats you. But I did not feel like the Steelers necessarily beat us as much as we beat ourselves. And maybe that's just me trying to soften the blow as a fan or whatever. But I did want to say one thing, man. Zane Gonzalez, this guy, I don't know where he was like a month ago, but we pull him off the practice squad as the kicker. He proceeds to kick a 48-yarder, a 41-yarder, and hit all 3 extra points that we were asked him to do. And what I kept thinking is he's going to nail a 55-yarder to win the game. That's what I had. And I have no doubt that if it had come down to that, he would have nailed a 55-yarder. It's just that kind of a year where we ask guys to step up, and just like with Siebert all year long, that we didn't know this guy's name before the season, and he's been a key player. So anyway, I was sad that he didn't get a chance to do that, because I really think Zane Gonzalez would have nailed it, because he nailed everything else. And I just think that's amazing, man. Guys, you can imagine, to me, the pressure that you're under with his background and being asked to come into a big game and perform. So I just thought that was worth mentioning. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it was a tough loss. Any other takeaways from Sunday? I guess we need to talk. We're going to talk on our next pod about the Philly game, but I just want to hear from you guys. What do you think this loss means in terms of going into the biggest game of the season, which is Thursday Night Football against the NFC East leading Philadelphia Eagles in a battle for the title?
I think this team shows up angry Thursday night. I think they show up angry. I think they know they let one get away. The look on Dan Quinn's face at end of regulation, he looked pissed to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but they did that, that NFL slow-mo thing, and you could just see Dan. He looked like he was seething to me. It obviously hurt Johnny Newton, I think the team comes out mad Thursday night. You asked about takeaways, John. The other takeaway I've got from this game is that it doesn't seem to matter who gets hurt. Andrew Wiley, they decide, isn't going to play just minutes before the game. Trent Scott comes out. All he did was hold the defensive player of the year sackless. That's all he did, right? He came out, played right tackle, and kept Watt off Daniels all day long. Biotic gets hurt and goes out. Some guy whose name I can't even remember comes in and plays center for what, 2 series? Mm-hmm. And all he does is his job routinely, convincingly. Our lead running back, what is this, the 3rd week in a row B-Rob's been a game-time decision and a game-time scratch? And the offense just kept moving the football. Granted, not nearly as well as maybe we have the last couple of weeks, but we're playing a significantly better opponent defensively than we have the last couple of weeks. So I'm just really impressed. We actually have depth for a change, which is a totally new feeling. I mean, John Allen goes out 5 weeks ago. Defensive tackles are playing great football. It's really, I don't know. I don't know what my expectations are. I don't know why I feel like this, because Paul, I understand why you feel the way you feel, but I'm not there. I look at this team and we're so far ahead of where I thought we were going to be at this point in time. I'm looking forward to Thursday night, because let me tell you what, kids, the Eagles did not look awesome against a bad Cowboy football team yesterday afternoon. They don't look as good as the score looks like maybe they looked. So,
well, one thing I think also bears mentioning is Cliff Kingsbury. All we've heard over the last, I don't know, decade is that when Washington is in a tough game, they just stop running the ball. They just revert to dropping the quarterback back over and over and over again. And we certainly saw that last year with Sam Howell. And you do not, even though, and I'll even confess to you that I was kind of like, stop trying to run in my mind, because I think the Steelers were very difficult to run the ball on. Mm-hmm. We did get some nice runs on the outside, but as far as like running up the gut, we just couldn't get anything going. But I think Cliff Kingsbury deserves a lot of credit in fact, for 2 weeks in a row, because we had the same issue with the Giants. They played the run really tough, but we just kept at it, and we kept at it. And, I think that speaks to, I think in the future, we're going to reap the benefits of that he's not going to abandon the run. He's going to continue to pound the ball, even if it's not particularly effective, because he knows that it helps us when we do drop back, and to keep the defense on their toes. So anyway, even though again I probably would have preferred we give Jaden more passes in this game. I think it's a good sign that we're not just abandoning the game plan. We're continuing to try to run the ball, no matter who's out there.
Well, and shout out to Anthony Lynn, because they're still somewhat effective. I mean, even we didn't see the same kind of numbers we've seen the last several weeks, but they were effective enough that Pittsburgh had to continue to honor the run. The Steelers, I don't think you mentioned this early in, John, when you were throwing out numbers for the game. The Steelers did something for the first time all season nobody else has been able to do. Jaden Daniels had 0 yards on the scramble. No one has held him to no yards running the football off schedule pass plays. So hats off to Pittsburgh. They did something I honestly wasn't certain you could do.
Yeah. And one trend that I've noticed that Bob kind of hinted at, with Watt not taking over, is when we play elite pass rushers, they don't take over and dominate the game, which I would never have guessed going into the season. But like Myles Garrett didn't take over the game. Hendrickson on the Bengals didn't take over the game. The Giants guys, you make plays here and there, but they didn't just like dominate and take over the game. So that's that's a testament to our O-line, and then the new O-line coach and the new players there. So that was good. And then also Terry, he's just having a great year. It shows what he can do with a good quarterback. Because even a corner like Porter, who's pretty good, Terry just abused him the whole game. Either he was burning him or drawing pass interferences. So that's another good thing.
I do think it's fair to say, I know, and I agree that like not allowing a sack against a defense like the Steelers is impressive as hell, and I don't want to dilute that at all, because I think that's absolutely true. But I do feel like they put a ton of pressure on Jaden. And this is probably this was probably the first time where I felt like, I don't want to say Daniels was rattled, but he looked like he didn't look comfortable back there for most of the game. And that's what I kind of attribute some of the missed opportunities, like the pass to McCaffrey, to him having just maybe being hyper aware of guys in his vicinity. They might not have been sacking him, but I think they bother him quite a bit. So I actually was looking at the post-game interviews, kind of wanting to see more like direct questions to Jaden about how do you feel like you played? I didn't see him challenged at all in terms of the post-game interviews on how he felt he played. And I would have been interested to see what he would have to say about that, because I don't think it was his best game. I don't think he was as poised in this one. And again, it's easy for me, I'm sitting here in my bedroom talking about the game. I'm not playing the game. So it's easy for me to say, well, he wasn't as poised. Well, he had they were throwing the kitchen sink at him. So there might have been a good reason for that. But I did feel like, I guess in the back of my mind, I have our defenses starting to figure him out a little bit, or our defensive coordinators figuring out how to present him with challenges that maybe he's not ready for. The flip side of that is, well, Steelers have a damn good defense. That would be the other, probably more likely explanation. But I will confess that I did wonder that, like, are we going to see him struggle more down the stretch now that there's tape on him, and defensive coordinators might try to copy what the Steelers did?
Pittsburgh blitzed more than any other team all season has blitzed. They came 19 out of 34 pass plays. They brought extra guys. And that's like half again as much as New York last week. And that was last week was the most blitzes Daniels had seen all season long up until that game. So, I'm beginning to wonder. I don't know whether you're right about people figuring him out, John, or whether people are looking at tape and going, we got to do something. Let's just get after the young man. And I don't know. We'll see what happens Thursday night.
And Bob, he had opportunities like that shot to McCaffrey. That was there. That was a touchdown. He just missed him. So it's not to say like maybe next game he doesn't miss. When they blitz, he does pick it up and hit somebody downfield, and it's more accurate. So it's hard to say. I'm just confessing to you. I mean, I'm all in on Jaden Daniels. So please don't at me on Twitter or whatever.
Oh no, yeah, I think
I am all in on him.
Yeah, I also think too, just the sheer absurd amount of drops this game, totally changed the narrative. Like if there was like half the amount of drops, it doesn't kill drives. It doesn't kill momentum and rhythm. And we might not be. It would be a totally different discussion too. So, it all works together. But yeah, I'm with you.
Did you have video from Mark?
No, Marcus, our friend from Bavaria, our brother from Bavaria, is he just got back, so he did watch the game, but he wasn't able to chime in this week. But anyway, Paul, you got any closing thoughts on this one, man, before we wrap it up with a bow?
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to mention, because you guys were talking about, have teams started to figure out Daniels or whatnot, and Bob was alluding to the fact that Pittsburgh blitzed like crazy. One of the things that I think factored into that and contributed to that yesterday, I thought we were fairly inefficient on first down. Probably the most inefficient we've been on first down the entire season. We were in a lot of 2nd and 9, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 8 situations that were likely going to be obvious pass plays or passing downs at that point. We got to try to do a little bit of a better job on first down of staying ahead of the chains. And granted, Brian Robinson factors into that a lot. If you have him available and him present, it changes things and makes us a little bit more unpredictable. But I think that, that was one of the things that contributed to our struggles yesterday.
Yeah, that's a great point, Paul.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll wrap it up with this. If any of us had been approached prior to this season and said, "Hey guys, I'm sorry to inform you, you'll only be 7-3 on the cusp of leading the NFC East. Meanwhile, the Giants and Dallas are sucking ass." I think we would have been pretty excited about the prospect of that coming into the season. I do think, who knows what's going to happen down the stretch. We do have some tough games upcoming, including obviously the one we alluded to at the start of the podcast, which is the most important game of this season so far on Thursday night against the Eagles. So we'll see what happens. I like what Bob said. I think this team is pissed. I think they're going to come into that game with a little bit of something to prove. But we'll see how it works out for us on Thursday night. But anyway, got to be proud of these guys. We did not embarrass ourselves by any stretch. That game was within reach all the way up until the last play of the game. And that's really, sometimes you can't win them all. And that's what it boils down to in my mind. You're going to have losses, even in great seasons. Kansas City lost games in every Super Bowl season that they had. I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying that even the great teams have tough losses, and that's just the nature of the NFL. So anyway, guys, we'll wrap it up. I appreciate you guys. We're going to do another pod that we'll put out maybe in a day or so, our preview of the Eagles game. Please visit our YouTube channel and give the Blind Pig a subscribe and a like and a follow and all that good stuff. Most importantly, come visit us at bgobsession.com, the best Washington Commanders forum on the interwebs. And I will stand by that till my dying breath. And until next time, guys, that'll do, pigs. That'll do.